Ladies and gentlemen, we will welcome Isa Bluch. He will host the panel too, so please welcome Isa Bluch.
All right, good afternoon or good morning still. We have 15 minutes towards the afternoon, and welcome to the second session, which will last about 70 minutes, I'm told. And then after that, you will be fed some lunch. And if you don't ask questions, you know, the doors will be closed and nobody will leave. To set the stage, the panelists that I have will be given a short, brief introduction by me, and then their profiles have been very well printed in the booklet you have, so you can refer to that for more information. We will restrict that a little bit so that we save time and energy towards the Q&A later on. And so each one will have about 10 minutes. Please pitch your case, and then we'll move on. And the order of the panelists is there, including the discussant, who is at the last list there, the name. In your handbook, you also have the Harvard case study that was done on me in 2015 on the agribusiness project that I handled, including the non-profit Akili. Just a word of that, because I was explaining to one of the panelists earlier here, to Anthony, and I thought I should share it with you. It refers to agribusiness. And as we launched this project in Africa, at that time it was full-blown agriculture. And that was the name of the company, Africa Atlantic Agriculture. And we realized sometime later that we were not getting staff, workers, they were not coming forward. Local Africans in Ghana were not attracted to this organization because it is agriculture. And so that is not sexy enough. Young people don't want to go and put their hands on soil and live where there is mosquitoes and bugs. So when we changed it to agribusiness, all of a sudden the mosquitoes did not matter, because this is much more than agriculture. There is supply chain. So tweaking things here and there can be very, very powerful, and that's the experience that we faced. We had approximately 40 interns that came in from North America, and not a single African. And by the end of the year, after we tweaked this name, we had approximately 60 interns that were very interested to come and put their hands on soil. So, to set the stage, I want to refer to the miracle of Taiwan. And the late Kalesus Juma, who lived here for 2 years, believed that there was something Africans can learn. There is something the Taiwanese can export. They said there is some mutual benefit here. Young people going to Africa, doctors, trainers of some sort, whatever field there was. I think there is a need. And he believed that the transformation of Taiwan from a mushroom economy to a semiconductor economy has something special, something spectacular. You became a learning country, you continued learning, the skills of continuous learning were there. And I want to share with you some figures just to put this into context, I'm going to refer to the countries of Africa. In 1960s rather, there were about 53 countries, because we have had 2 new countries the last 5 years. South Sudan has been added, and then Western Sahara has also now become a country and is being recognized. So today, the numbers, depending on what you read, may tell you 54 or 55. But in the 60s, there were 53 countries. Of those 53 countries, 4 were, their GDP was over that of Taiwan. So what was it? And here I'd like to share with you the numbers. Taiwan GDP in the 60s was about 2 billion, and Egypt was 4. Morocco was about 2, so same as Taiwan. Nigeria was 4, and South Africa was 8. And now you fast forward. The miracle has taken shape and things have changed. We are looking at the year 2017. And 2017, we now have 54 countries in Africa, and the GDP of Taiwan is 575 billion. And the GDP of those 4 countries that I have referred to, plus another 40, so you're talking of 44 African countries, the GDP is equivalent of Taiwan, 575 billion. Now you tell me, what kind of appetite did Taiwan have to grow in such a way? It must have been something spectacular. And so the background of what the late Calestus had in mind, and in support of the numbers that I've given you, there is merit in what he believed. And that's the case that I put before you, that there is something that we can do and forget what the North has in mind, the authoritarian approach. Let's do this and grab something under the table. On the surface, let's give this and then take it away. This is very different. I think the approach that we are looking at through the work of socio development, NGO approach is really the best. So, our first speaker is our convener of this project, a colleague at Harvard, the one that I came to know via the late Calestus Juma, a colleague at the Harvard Advanced Leadership Initiative, and one who is really committed as a Taiwanese that originally, as a Taiwanese that feels strongly about this project, that there is a Taiwan experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you Dr. Jack Gao.
Thank you, Isa, for the kind introduction. Isa has been quite modest. In my hand, there's a book that he has co-wrote about the African experience that he had. They call Africa Risk Dashboard. I strongly encourage you to buy this book and read it. It tells us many things about Africa and how we could succeed in Africa. And then the next speaker after me is my dear friend and cohort, Futi. She is now a chair of the council for the University of Victoria. And this is part of the university that she's heading that project the future of Africa that we can, from Taiwan, participate. So I'd just like to set the stage about these 2 items. For my part, about 10 minutes or so, there are 3 sections. The first section is talking about the historical perspective. The second, what is, I would say, the Taiwanese miracle or Taiwan experience. The second part is my interaction with the gentleman that you saw in the picture, Professor Juma. His inspiration for me, and then what we're here today, and what we can do together with the people and resources in this room, and also the resources that we discovered earlier in the panel one. And the last part will be the step forward. So I will share with you some of the action plan that we have in mind. And they will include some of the people in this room. I know that there are quite a few students from the Taiwan Africa International Service Organizational Association. So I welcome them to participate in this journey. When I saw the Harvard Business School article, I feel like that I'm going back to school. And I feel that I'm extremely lucky that I was trained and educated in Taiwan when I was young, and then I went to the States in the mid-80s and then spent my adult life there. But when I look back, the historic context of the Taiwan is such that since World War II, the end of World War II, Taiwan was ravaged and it was a ruins. But the 30, 40 years after that, Taiwan moved from a third world country to catching up with the concept of that Professor Zuma was talking about, the learning economy. We started the land reform that Professor Lin quite well. That land reform, including the two-step 三七五减租 and 跟着有起点, these are the Taiwanese term. And then with the import substitution, light industry, heavy industry, and then high-tech industries. So these the first 30, 40 years, I call it the bright years of Taiwan. The people like my generation, including JP, Professor Zheng, we always feel that tomorrow will be better than today, and today is already better than yesterday. And that's the upward trajectory. Taiwan was the head or the leader of the four little dragons, Taiwan, Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore. And Taiwan moved away from command economy to productive market economy for these 30, 40 years. But from that point on, from early 1990s until now, this kind of, I call it the stage 2 of the Taiwanese development. Even though economically Taiwan is still chugging along with leading companies like TSMC based on the research of IG, of Industrial Technology and Research Institute and so on. So semiconductor is still a mainstay and a stronghold of Taiwan. But on the other hand, Taiwan experienced a democratization, the flourishing of the civil society, and become a very diversified society. But on the political front, Taiwan withdrew from the global society. So it's kind of sad when I was in US, witnessed the shrinkage of the Taiwan power globally. Even though economically it's still quite good, as Isa was referring to. But let me just quote one number. Around 1992-93, Taiwan's GDP actually is 47% of the entire mainland China GDP. So it's almost half. But now it's probably 5% or so. So you can see that China is catching up. But on the other hand, I went to United Nations SDG meeting in 2015. And in that meeting, I was so happily surprised to hear the panel leaders from our fellow citizen, the Tzu Chi Foundation. So they presented to the global audience of 2,000 or 3,000 people participated, joined by U.S. Catholic Association and on global disaster recovery. And they have 1 million volunteers globally. It's a successful story that some people know, but it hasn't been told more widely. And the other fact that I noticed in that meeting is that I didn't see a single Chinese representative in the panel, because they, as Ambassador Tian was referring to, they shy away from civil society, non-profit organization or NGO. They thought that it's a threat to their regime. So that's kind of the thing that I'd like to remind everybody in this room that according to Rebecca Wang in her organization, Taiwan 8, she was saying that the smart power actually is quite important that Taiwan can exercise on the global stage versus the sharp power of China that we have seen witness for the One Belt, One Road initiative. So that's kind of the past 60, 70 years. And then I was toward the point of finishing my professional career as a management consultant, professional consultant, and I think about what I should do to pay back to the society that I grew up, which I have been away for so many years. and then what Taiwan can do for the global society. So I was troubled by that question. So luckily I was in at Harvard Advanced Leadership Initiative, which allow for the experienced professional to think hard on what they can do to have an impact on the society they are part of and what they want to do for the rest of their lives. So luckily during that year, the requirement is that we take one required course and then 2 electives. So in total at most 3. But guess how many I have taken through that years? I have taken 19 courses, or audit 19 courses. So I actually, again, I said I'm lucky that I have this desire to take in as much as possible and then see what can come out of it. And one of the 19 that I like the most is the course that I audit with Professor Juma. You saw the picture. The title of the class is called Innovation and Global Development. And actually combine 2 parts of my passion. I used to be a management consultant advising company on innovation, product development, supply chain, and so on. But my passion is to see how the other country can catch up with developed country, and I treat Taiwan as one of them, how they can learn from the trial and errors. So I become a very good friend of Professor Juma. So we have lots of long discussion about what we can do and what we should do. So we think of a 3 legs approach. One leg is in Taiwan, so that we can learn like the discussion in panel 1. What are the collective experience this society has to offer? And leg 2 is in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or somewhere in America, because the political environment, the reality is that it's so difficult for Taiwan to go to a country that it doesn't have a diplomatic relationship. But on the other hand, Taiwan has so much to offer. So we intend to use the convening power of Harvard, MIT, and US as a stepping stone for Taiwan to go global. So he is quite willing to support this. And I call him a friend of Taiwan. He is so engaged. He thought that the experience from East Asia should be a good golden example for developing countries. And this school of thought actually was verified. The current ambassador of South Korea to South Africa actually published a book talking about the Korean experience. And it's exactly the same reasoning, saying that the East Asian experience actually should be a good reference. But my point of view is that Taiwan actually is a much better experience than South Korea in the sense that small and medium business, the entrepreneurship, and also the compassionate leaders that we have seen this morning, and also the government and the NGO sector, which are global leaders. So between Professor Juma and I thought about what are the African countries that we should expand our footprint. So he gave me a list of East African, South African, West African, Central African countries that we can develop our influence. Or he has the relationship with all these head of states. So unfortunately, he passed away at the end of December of 2017. But all is not lost. With foresight, he introduced Isa to me before he passed away. So Isa and I, and also Puti, we met in the memorial of April of 2018. And we were just debating what we should do or we should just give up. But the 2 gentlemen and ladies here remind me that there is so much in what I had discussed with Professor Juma we should carry on, and we should unearth the best kept secret, which is Taiwan and the Taiwanese development experience and NGO sectors and so on. How we can put it onto global stage so that this secret is no longer secret, but also it could become the treasure for the whole humankind. So these are the kind of the genesis. So there was a few pages in this PPT that you can look at. So we have some suggested action plan, including the collaboration with the universities in South Africa, East Africa that we come to know. And then also focusing not only the sustainable development goal, but there is a topic that Isa reminded me. The African Union has the Agenda 2063, which is they want to develop Africa that we want. And they want to share the strategic framework for sustainable development goal so that they encourage inclusive growth and sustainable development in 8 key areas. that Taiwan can definitely participate together with the SDG that we all come to know. And then the next part of the medium-term objective will be for me to link up with the forums that Taiwan can go to market, so to speak. So it's more like a brand Taiwan in some international meetings. This is just an initial subset. There are a few others that I have participated that we can go to. And then the next speaker, Futi, is going to talk about a collaboration that between us that started from the 2017 when we are cohorts. And we studied together in Professor Juma's class, and we have different thoughts. But I thought that the work that we generate from Taiwan could be the upstream, and then Futi can take in our experience, the try and error that we have done. And for example, the contribution that Professor Lin is going to share with her and with me tomorrow will be one of the examples of the collaboration we can start. So with her and also with a few people in the appendix, these are the advisors to our initiative. We will continue the dialogue with them. All of them have agreed to help us. And we also want to open up this effort as a platform so that the younger generation from Taiwan can continue to participate based on the foundation we have set up. So thank you. I think that's my part, and now just for you to my colleague.
Okay, thank you so much, Jack. And later on, after the round has been done, I want to leave a question with you now, so you prepare yourself and think, because we like to think in terms of a microwave. We want to know what can we action in terms of time frame and to which country. I know you've covered such a broad, it's a continent with 55 countries, but you have made a trip recently to Africa, and so think about where and when. Is this microwave going to prepare something this year or next year? Then it is not a microwave if it is next year, because it is charcoal. But think about that and give us some answers later. Now our next speaker is going to be Ms.